Okay, for the next flight, I came in here and made some modifications. I added a gimbal orientation right here. You can click here and add another one. I'm going to delete that one. I don't really want to have. I went into all of these. This is a plan. We would call it a waypoint mission in ArduPilot, but this is a plan in Dronelink, and the plan consists of components. You can see right here, add new components, and this is some of the components down here. Just another, when two different human beings make up software, they just come up with a whole different idea of how to do it. And if you're going to use both their softwares, you're going to have to learn how both of them decided to do it and memorize it. So anyway, I came into all of these and added a gimbal orientation for minus 45 degrees from the horizontal. Oops. Close this one. You can see this one. If I scroll down, there's your minus 45 degree from the horizontal. I guess you can't just scroll through these, can you? Nope. Okay. Anyway, trust me. Minus 45 degrees from the horizontal. Done on that component. This rotation, I changed from 10. Can't see what it's saying there because of my darn. There we go. Degrees per second. And see, I thought of 360 that 10 degrees per second. 360 it'd be 36. It'd be a large time period. Anyway, right now it's set to 5 degrees per second. It was set to 10 degrees per second. So that should slow down the rotation there at the end. And then I may come in here and add a command, a drone command of return home. Obstacle avoidance. Don't know if I want to do that because that may. I might try smart return home because return home obstacle avoidance might try to retrace my tracks. Anyway, the problem right now is that after it finishes all this up, in the main settings here, I have action on finish, return to home, and it shuts off the camera. I do have a camera capture set down here for video to always do a video capture, but as a default for everything, that doesn't seem to work. So I wonder if these override. Anyway, this rotation time, I'm going to come and change this to 10 from 45. I don't know if that will change my rotation time on all these rotations inside here or what. Here's your descent and ascent rate. Like say this is 10 feet per second. That's pretty quick. I'm going to lower that as a general. I'm going to take that down to 5 feet per second. I'm going to take that down to 3 feet per second. 30 feet, it'd take 10 seconds. 160 feet. Maybe I'll jump that back up to 5. Okay. Rotation, the rest of this I don't want to set as global defaults. So I will click done. Let's go inside here and see if any of these did change. Descent rate 5 did change right there. So I think it changed everything inside of here. So, shoot. I suppose I also pulled this 4th waypoint from here basically back to here, right along our property line, rather than get out over his property. I also did pull the takeoff point, which I hope is decided inside the platform at the moment of takeoff based on its GPS instead of this plot on this map. I did zoom in on that and pulled it back from over in here to here just to put it closer to the house because there are trees right there out back. I would start from right here. You can sort of see the shadow of them, but there's power lines running right through here. Just not a great place. Maybe the yard right here on the side would be a better place to take off from. Of course, the fields over there would be a better place to take off from and land because I more than likely would be closer. Well, not closer to the target, but I would have more room for error drift without having to do anything about it. Last time I had to not take over, I let the landing continue, but you can jostle the joysticks and move the platform still right and left, forward and back. So I did move it to the right away from the tree and then did move it back 5 or 10 feet towards the target, but then I let it land in my hand. All of that wasn't captured on film, I know. Video, so sorry. Let's preview this one before we fly it. And we'll quickly look at our altitude. That's always important to me. I want to be up at that 160 feet. I think 160 feet was clearing those trees pretty well last time. I should probably lower that, but we'll do that later. And it's not moving horizontally until I'm at altitude. That's still good. I don't have any problem with that. So I'll preview this. With the gimbal change that I made, as this is coming up in altitude right here in the simulation, the gimbal 45 degrees down is reflected in the screen over here to the right. So I do hope that's exactly the way that it will end up in my flight. That's what I'm shooting for. So we'll make this small again. That's my wife coming down the steps. And not sure if I wanted it at a 45. I'll probably do one at an angle, straight down. I like this one. That's what I would rather see in this shot. So that's what I will fly next. And it's going over the field. I'm going to speed this up times 2. I doubt I will see myself positioned exactly over the field with the gimbal at this angle, but I do see a little more. Now it's heading for that field out front. That stand of trees right there in this Google map, by the way, are no longer there. Actually, today they ground up the stumps on each side of the yard. Other front field, it's going towards the landlord's current house. His is sort of obscured by the trees, but his... Oh, no, it's not. There it is. Oh, yeah. I hope I slowed down those rotations on this one. And you can see the blue or bluish green there. That's where it took off from behind the house. That's the driveway going around the house. Hopefully it'll come back down in there. And I guess for this rotation out here above the property line, I could bring the gimbal back up. I don't think there's a lot of sense in the rotation here, but we'll just let it do it this time and see what happens. And it is a slower rotation. I think I slowed that from 10 to 5, and hopefully I slowed the rotations in the global defaults to 5 or 10 also. Go back and look at that in a second. So yeah, that looks like a cool flight to me. I could probably done a 270 there instead of a 360. But this is all can redo it, and there it is, starting the simulation over again. So let's put that one in it and fly it and see what happens. Okay, looks like the gimbal's fixed. How about that? The fix was putting the gimbal on channel 1 from the default 0. Looks like we have a little slower vertical ascent speed. Now, that's a 45-degree angle on that gimbal. For movement, it may be a little low. And for looking around to see if you stop, because my waypoint's in the middle of this field right here, but from what I can tell, it looks like I stop almost on the other side of it. But the gimbal would need to be pointed straight down to verify that. A lot of this can be very misleading. Viewing the world from above in an airplane, any platform, is very much different. That's why we like it so much. Can't get that rotation out. Just really can't. Oh, by the way, you can see on each side of the driveway there the piles where the gentleman ground those stumps today that were there. There were trees there. Now there's stumps. Also at the end of the driveway, they've been just tearing the daylights out of it with the heavy trucks and stuff. It's to be expected. Well, it's funny. That tree right there in the left in the middle of that field shades the ground so much that the moss and lichens and stuff are growing on the ground right underneath it. So it must be really wet, shaded. I'll have to see what kind of tree that is this year. Also there at the corner is some more moss and stuff on the ground. I've never been in those woods in 3 years living here. Might be some pretty wet stuff in there. So now we're facing back to the house. Asphalt driveway on the left. Me on the right. There's Pam in the blue shirt right through those trees right there. And technically, this is where the platform just stopped. Pam and I are standing down there just on the right. You can see her blue shirt, my black, right through the little opening on the right. And the phone locked up. Software locked up, or the phone locked up. I don't know which. I exited the software on the phone, loaded up the DJI software so I could orient myself. I was just hoping, and I could hear that the platform had pretty much stopped and stayed stationary at 160 feet, which is great. It had plenty of battery. So I had to make the decision, am I going to try to bring it down where it's at? Am I going to try to bring it home? What am I going to do? Luckily, I've done enough of these flights where it just wasn't stressful to me. It was like, okay, fine, the phone locked up. I can hear the platforms hovering. I'm not going to sweat this. So I reestablished communications manually with the platform. Looked around a bit to make sure I knew exactly where I was. And I decided just to bring it on home. I will tell you truthfully, at first it was a little stressful when suddenly nothing was changing on my screen, the picture wasn't changing, and I knew I was still flying. But, I know there's a big hole above the house here in the trees, but you can see those trees are big. Lots of limbs that would hold up this drone if they were cradled down in it. So that one kind of threw me, that it just hung up in the middle of a flight. But that's to be expected. To tell you the honest to God's truth, they don't even say that this software actually works with the Mavic Mini. But I figured for $40, what the hey, I'll see if I can make it work. Oh, the roof's pretty free of leaves. That's good. Landlord came up and did that a week ago or so, and then the storm from that first hurricane just kind of covered it. So this is just me manually lining up on the landing pad. There's not much at all going on here. So we'll get it back on the ground and mark a frozen software up to, that's the brakes.